Hello everyone. In this video we'll talk about one of the important aspects of this solid state chapter, which is about the crystal defects. Now before we get into the crystal defects and types of crystal defects, let us just try to understand what is the importance of this from a solid state point of view. So remember, when we talked about what we call as true solids in the first video of this chapter, we said that true solids will be having long range order, means they will be having long range orderly arrangement of the particles. If that is missing for some reason, so we'll explore what are the reasons for which it can be missing, but if it is missing for some reason, then we are going to be calling it as what? Crystal defects. So crystal defects are basically nothing but the cases where we are going to be missing this long range order. And if you look at the defects, which we can also call them as imperfections, we will talk about the atomic imperfections and electronic imperfections, or electronic defects and then atomic defects. Our focus will be on the atomic defects, which are concerned about the atoms. Within atomic defects we have point defects and line defects. Now our purview is only about the point defects. If you look at line defect, right, line defect basically comes if in a particular line or linear arrangement we have all the atoms missing, or we have atoms, additional atoms being occupying places in a particular line, which could be happening mostly because of the issues at the formation of the lattice. So we are not going to look at the line defects. What we are going to be looking at is only the point defects, means the defects concerned to the particular points. So point defects, which we are going to study in this video, we will be having three broad categories in that. One is what we call as stoichiometric defects. We'll see what is the meaning of the stoichiometric defects. And the other one is impurity defects. The third subcategory is non-stoichiometric defects. So what are the three subcategories? Stoichiometric defect, impurity defects, and then non-stoichiometric defects. And within stoichiometric defects we will be having Schottky and Frenkel defect for the ionic compounds. So generally when we talk about the ionic compounds, right, we will be focusing on the important types of stoichiometric defects are what? Schottky defect and then Frenkel defect. The non-stoichiometric defects we'll have broadly dividing them into two categories. One is metal deficiency defect, other is the metal excess defect. So we are going to be focusing on atomic defects. Within atomic defects we'll look at the point defects. We are not going to consider the line defects. Within point defects we have three subcategories: stoichiometric, impurity, and then non-stoichiometric. In the stoichiometric defects for the ionic compounds, our focus will be on Schottky defect and then Frenkel defect. In the non-stoichiometric defects we will be looking at the types of metal deficiency defect and then metal excess defects. So we'll start with what is this stoichiometric defect. Stoichiometric defects are basically those defects that do not disturb the stoichiometry of the solid, means the formula of the solid is not going to be disturbed. So because of those defects, when the formula is not disturbed, we will be calling such type of defects as what? Stoichiometric defects. And generally when we look at the stoichiometric defect, right, one of the common types of stoichiometric defects that we see in the case of the metal lattice is what we call as vacancy defect. So what is this vacancy defect? The vacancy defect is when some of the lattice sites are vacant. So as such, some of the lattice sites are basically becoming what? Vacant. Then that particular crystal is said to be having what? Vacancy defect. And this vacancy defect, since the lattice points are basically missing, this will result in decrease of density of the substance. So we are talking about the vacancy defect in case of what? The metals. And this defect can also develop when the substance is heated. So what happens is, when it is heated, some of the metal atoms, they will go out of the lattice point. And this vacancy defect, the main thing about the vacancy defect is what? It will result in decrease in density of the substance. So this is what is the type of stoichiometric defect that we'll see in the case of the metals. Now, why are we calling it a stoichiometric defect? Here, if all the atoms are, say for example iron, right, the formula is not going to be disturbed. Here we will not have any formula of the element will be iron only, right? So here we will not have any change in the stoichiometry. The other stoichiometric defect in case of metals is this interstitial defect. So the void places can be also called as what? Interstitial sites. In a particular crystal, the voids can be also called as what? Interstitial sites. Now, when some constituent particles, whether it is the atoms or molecules, they occupy an interstitial site or void, we can see that if we take these red color markings to be the particles of the original lattice, we will see that this one and this one, right, both are occupying what? The interstitial sites. Let us say we have a solid crystal of nickel. Here one nickel atom and another nickel atom, they are going and occupying the interstitial sites. And such kind of a defect is what we call as interstitial defect. And interstitial defect, as we can see, is going to increase the density of the substance. Why it is going to increase the density of the substance? Apart from the regular lattice points, we are having additional atoms coming and occupying the interstitial sites. And this interstitial defect also we will talk in case of the metals. So both vacancy defect and interstitial defect we will be talking in terms of the metals mostly. And both of them, since the formula of the substance is not going to change, we will be calling them as what? Stoichiometric defects. The difference is, in case of the vacancy defect, density of the substance will be decreasing. In case of the interstitial defect, density of the substance will be increasing. Now, when it comes to ionic substances, the stoichiometric defects, we look at them as a Frenkel defect or Scotty defect. So what is a Frenkel defect? We'll see. So Frenkel defect is the one that is shown in the ionic solids, and remember, this is what? Stoichiometric defect. So what is a Frenkel defect? The smaller ion, usually the cations. Remember, in the ionic lattice also we discussed about it. Usually the cation will be the smaller one, anion will be the larger one. Okay. So if you look at the smaller ions, which are cations, they will be dislocated from its normal site. So whatever is the site assigned to them, they will be dislocated from there and they will go to an interstitial sites. So as a result of it, what is happening? It is a combination of vacancy defect from their original site and interstitial defect to the new location. So Frenkel defect is nothing but it is a combination of vacancy defect with interstitial defect. So how do we see that? So how we can see it? Let us say, for example, here we can observe the box over here, which should have been a cation. It is moving out of its place, and where is it going and occupying? It is going and occupying a place over here. So it is moving out of its original place and it is going and occupying one of the interstitial sites. And it is a combination of what? Here, from here it is vacancy and here it is what? Interstitial. So as a result of it, what we will see is the Frenkel defect, right, does not change the density of the solid, because no particles are going out or no extra particles are coming in. And the Frenkel defect is also called as what? Dislocation defect. It's basically the cations moving. Generally the small ions are what? Cations. They will be moving from their original location to the interstitial site. And generally the substances where the ionic sizes are very largely different. So when the cation size and anion size are very largely different, example, we have zinc sulfide, AgCl, AgBr, AgI. I mean, this is just the thumb rule. If you have a large difference, because we are talking about the smaller ion getting dislocated from its original place and going and occupying the interstitial site. So the substances having a large difference in the size of ions, they generally will be showing the interstitial or the Frenkel defect. Okay, so the thumb rule here we are saying it is not like this Frenkel defect is only shown by the species having large difference. This is just a broad guideline that we're talking about. Okay, so the other name for the Frenkel defect is what? Dislocation defect. Frenkel defect can be also called as dislocation defect. And as a result of Frenkel defect, density will not be changing because it is a combination of vacancy defect and then interstitial defect. The other type of stoichiometric defect in case of ionic substances is Scotty defect. So what is Scotty defect? It is nothing but a vacancy defect in case of ionic solids. Now how the vacancy defect is going to happen? The vacancy defect is going to happen in order to maintain the electrical neutrality. The number of missing cations and missing anions will be equal. If you look at an AB type of ionic substance, right? If say for example some 3 A ions are missing and 3 B ions are missing, then the electrical neutrality will be still maintained. And this Scotty defect is just like the case of what? Vacancy defect. The difference is what? Here we are going to be losing equal number of cations and equal number of anions from their places, and this we're talking by considering AB type of ionic substance. And if you look at the ionic compounds that show the Scotty defect, that is generally shown by the substances having similar size of cation and anion. Again, this is also a broad thumb rule. Like if you look at the substances we are talking about here are what? Sodium chloride, KCl, cesium chloride, and even AgBr we are giving. Remember, AgBr we have covered there also. So the rule that we are saying that Frenkel defect is shown when there is a large difference in the size of cations and anions, and Scotty defect is shown when the cations and anions are similar size. That is just a broad guideline, but we can have substance like AgBr that will be showing both Frenkel defect as well as Scotty defect. So how do we understand the Frenkel defect in terms of the diagrammatic representation? We can see that there are places like here this should have been what? Negative ion, and here this should have been a negative ion. Here this should have been what? Positive, and we'll see that here this should have been positive. The thing is, the number of positive ions missing will be equal to the number of negative ions if we consider AB type of ionic substance, and overall the electrical neutrality will be maintained. And we can see, since it is a case of vacancy defect, what is going to happen to the density? Since it is a case of just vacancy defect, density is going to what? It is going to be decreasing. Now we covered the stoichiometric defects. The second subcategory is what? Impurity defects. So here we will not have many classifications in this. So impurity defect is basically if we have any substance, like say for example we have molten sodium chloride, and we are crystallizing it with some small amount of strontium chloride. Now what happens is, some of the sites of Na plus will be taken by what? They will be taken by the Na plus, they will be taken by the strontium ions. The problem here is each strontium will be able to replace 2 Na plus ions because of the divalency. Strontium 2 plus, right? Na is only +1. So each strontium can replace 2 Na plus ions. And what would happen as a result of it? The strontium will not go and occupy the place of 2 Na plus. It will only occupy the place of 1 Na plus. So it will occupy the place of one site, and the other site will be remaining what? Vacant. And this cationic vacancies we are able to create, right? Like these vacancies that are getting created will be exactly equal to the number of strontium ions. So the impurity defects will basically come when we have one type of ionic substance with a different valency going and getting crystallized with another type of ionic substance. So if you look at even the solid solution of cadmium chloride and AgCl, here cadmium, what is the valency? Cadmium 2 plus, Ag is what? 1 plus. So if you look at the cadmium ions going and occupying the Ag plus site, so for every 2 Ag plus, only 1 cadmium 2 plus will be replacing, which means there also will be having what? Cationic vacancies. So this is about the impurity defects. So impurity defects will come because of the simultaneous crystallization of one ionic substance in the molten state with some other ionic substance. The non-stoichiometric defects, this is an important one because if at all there is an numerical question in this particular segment of the chapter, it will be coming from the non-stoichiometric defects. So what is a non-stoichiometric defect? These are the defects where the overall formula of the compound will be changing. That is why we are using the word non-stoichiometric defects. The stoichiometric formula of the compound will be changing. And the non-stoichiometric defects, we have two types. One is metal excess, other is what? Metal deficiency. So metal excess can happen because of anionic vacancies. So what is this metal excess defect because of anionic vacancies? If we have the alkali halides, this one is generally shown by what? Alkali halides like sodium chloride or potassium chloride. Then if we are heating crystals of sodium chloride in an atmosphere of sodium vapor. So we have crystals of sodium chloride, we are heating it in an atmosphere of what? Sodium vapor, we are heating it. Now as a result of it, what will happen is the sodium atoms are deposited on the surface of the crystal. The sodium atoms will come and get deposited on the surface of the crystal. And inside what is there? We'll have Na plus and Cl minus. The Cl minus will drift to the surface of the crystal and combine with the Na atoms. The Cl minus ions from within the crystal, they will drift to the surface and they will be combining with what? Sodium atoms. And when they combine with the sodium atoms, will be forming sodium chloride. Now when this is happening, right, if the sodium has to form sodium plus, then only it can combine with Cl minus. So only this will be able to combine with Cl minus to form NaCl. The sodium must be losing electrons to become Na plus, and these electrons that are released, right, they will be diffusing into crystal and they will occupy the previous site. Wherever the anion was there previously, the electrons will go and occupy those sites, and as a result, if we see, what we observe is net the entire crystal is now having excess sodium. So that is the reason why what we are calling this defect as metal excess defect due to anionic vacancies. Why are we using the word anionic vacancies? Because the previous places where anions were there, now those places, some of the places are taken by the electrons. And there is an interesting thing about it. So these anionic sites, right, which are occupied by the unpaired electrons, they are also called as F centers, which will give characteristic colors. So F center basically comes from the German word Farbenzenter, basically for the color. So if you look at the yellow color of the sodium chloride or the pink color of the lithium chloride or the violet color of potassium chloride, all these characteristic colors, they will come because these electrons they absorb energy for a particular wavelength and get excited. And if this is falling in the visible region, right, what we'll see is a characteristic color like the yellow color of sodium or the pink color of lithium chloride or the violet color of potassium chloride. All of them are coming because of these F centers. So what are the F centers? They are basically the anionic sites occupied by the unpaired electrons. So previously from here the anion is going and drifting out to the surface, and the electrons are drifting inwards and occupying the anionic sites. So this is what is the metal excess defect due to anionic vacancies, and this is what non-stoichiometric. What is happening here? Overall, the amount, like the example what we discussed is sodium vapor getting deposited on sodium chloride crystals. Overall, we'll see that the sodium amount will be more. The stoichiometry of the compound is getting disturbed. That is why we are calling it as what? Non-stoichiometric defect. The other type of non-stoichiometric defect that can happen because of, again, metal excess is due to the presence of extra cations in interstitial sites. Previously, what was that? Previously, it was the anions missing from their places. Now the metal excess defect is because of what? Extra cations in the interstitial sites. So we'll see how that comes. And if you look at zinc oxide and when we heat zinc oxide, what would happen is the zinc oxide will be losing oxygen gas, and as a result what we'll observe that it will be turning into yellow color. So what is in white form normally at room temperature, when we are heating it, it turns into what? Yellow color. So what is happening in the process? What is happening is, from the zinc oxide the oxygen gas is getting evolved. As a result, the zinc ions that are getting formed, they will not be able to take the place of the crystal lattice sites, because the corresponding sites of the cations and anions are now displaced. So what would happen is the excess zinc 2 plus they are left over because of the dissociation, they will be moving into the interstitial sites, and the electrons also will move into the corresponding neighboring interstitial sites. So the oxygen gas has evolved out, but the overall substance is electrically neutral still. Whatever is the positive charge on zinc 2 plus, same number of electrons charge is there. Overall we have electrical neutrality that is maintained, but the zinc 2 plus ions will not be able to maintain the previous lattice points. They will go and occupy the interstitial sites, and when they go and occupy the interstitial sites, the neighboring interstitial sites are taken by what? Electrons. So as a result, what we see now is the substance is now going to have more zinc, and that is happening because of the loss of oxygen, which was the previous anion substance, and the corresponding cations are going and occupying the interstitial sites. This, only the stoichiometry is going to change. The electrical neutrality will still be maintained. Whatever is the positive charge on the cations, that is balanced by the negative charge on the electrons, and where the electrons are going to be? The electrons are going to be in the neighboring interstitial sites. So this is what is the metal excess defect due to the presence of extra cations at the interstitial sites. Now talking about the metal deficiency defect, this is where we have the scope of numerical questions. What is a metal deficiency defect? So remember, when we talked about this is also, by the way, is a non-stoichiometric defect. When we talked about the impurity defects, we touched upon the idea that if we have strontium ions going and occupying the place of Na plus, only one strontium ion will come for two Na plus ions, and that is creating what? That is creating cation vacancies. Now similarly, if we have instead of two ions, we have same metal which can have multiple valencies. As a result of it, we will be getting what we call as metal deficiency defect. What is it? We'll try to see. Say for example, if we have iron oxide or ferric oxide, FeO. This is ferrous oxide, by the way. So if you was ferrous oxide, if you have FeO, then what we'll be requiring is for every one oxygen atom proportion, we must be having one iron atom. That is the proportion. So Fe will have 2 plus and iron will be having what? 2 minus. But if some of the places of Fe2 plus are taken by Fe3 plus ions, not the full but some of the places. Now what happens is, for every 3 Fe2 plus places, we will be compensating with only 2 Fe3 plus ions. As a result of it, if we take out 3 Fe2 plus ions, we will be replacing them with only 2 Fe3 plus ions. So the overall composition, we will see that the metal is getting what? Deficit. So metal is appearing to get deficit because of the different valency of the metal atoms. But overall the charge neutrality will be maintained. Overall the total charge of the cations will be equal to total charge of the anions. So if you look at typically, right, the FeO or the ferrous oxide will be found not with the FeO formula, but it will be found in the formula Fe 0.950. I mean, may not be exactly 0.95, but it will be in that range, 0.94, 0.96. So this is how we will be able to find the metal deficiency defect. So what is this metal deficiency defect? It is a type of the non-stoichiometric defects where the substance will contain less amount of the metal as compared to the stoichiometric proportion. Now why is it containing less amount of the metal? Because some of these metal cation positions are occupied by metal atoms with a higher valency, that is it. So Fe2 plus is replaced by Fe3 plus. So we will not be requiring equal number of Fe3 plus, we will require lesser number of Fe3 plus. For every 3 Fe2 plus ions, we require only 2 Fe3 plus. So overall what we see as if the amount of metal is getting decreased, but the overall electrical neutrality will be maintained. So whatever the charge on the cations will be equal to total charge of the anions. Now we'll see what kind of questions can come on this. As I said, this is the only area where we can have questions in the entire crystal defect. Look at this question. This is a very standard model of question. Iron oxide has a formula Fe 0.940. Means the proportion is what? For every 1 iron, now we are having what? 0.94 proportion of, for every 1 oxygen we are having 0.94 proportion of iron. What fraction of Fe will exist as Fe3 plus? Means here, if it is the Fe2 plus, right, what will be the formula? The formula would have been exactly FeO, that's it. But some of the Fe2 plus positions are taken by what? Fe3 plus. Now we need to find out what fraction of this Fe will be existing as Fe3 plus. So how do we do it? We will do this kind of problems based on the idea of the charge balance method. So what is the method that we use? We will use the charge balance method or electrical neutrality method. So how do we approach it? Let us say that we have some 100 oxide ions, and for that, what is the number of iron atoms? Only 94 will be there. And this basically comes from the composition. So for every 1 oxygen we are having 0.94, means we take 100 oxide ion, means there will be 94 iron atoms. For the 100 oxide ions, what will be the total negative charge? Each oxygen is having -2. So total negative charge must be equal to what? 100 into -2 will be -200. And since we are talking about the charge balance, electrically the substance must be neutral. The overall charge of the 94 iron atoms should be equal to what? Plus 200. And in that 94 iron atoms, some of them are Fe2 plus, some of them will be what? Fe3 plus. So what we do is, let us say in that 94 iron atoms, X is the amount of Fe3 plus ions. And what will be the Fe2 plus ions then? Fe2 plus ions will be 94 minus X. Because if you are saying X is Fe3 plus, means remaining is what? 94 minus X. So the total positive charge should be plus 200. So how do we calculate it? Fe3 plus ions count is X, means X into 3, because each of them is having plus 3 charge. And the number of Fe2 plus ions is what? 94 minus X. So 2 into 94 minus X. The total value must be equal to what? 200. It's a simple equation. So what we have? 3x minus 2x plus 94 is equal to 200. So we'll have finally the value of X to be coming as what? 12. So we'll just have to simplify it. So how do we simplify it? You can just check it. So X 94 2's will be how much it is going to be? 3x minus 2x is X. 94 into 2 will be what? 188 will be 200. So X will be coming as what? 12. So X is coming 12, means what they are asking is what fraction of iron will exist as Fe3 plus. So we need to find the fraction. What is the fraction? The fraction or percentage of iron existing as Fe3 plus is what? 12 or Fe3 plus divided by total iron atoms count is what? 94. So 12 by 94 into 100. So if we simplify it, it will be coming approximately 12.8%. In terms of fraction, means we can tell it as what? 0.128 fraction. So what we'll do in these kind of questions, first, usually here we'll have metal deficiency. So we will take some 100 anion part. For that we'll see what is the negative charge. Total positive charge also must be same. Like in this case 100 negative ions, total charge is what? Minus 200. Total positive charge also should be what? Plus 200. Now this should be coming from where? 94 iron atoms. Means if we consider the number of Fe3 plus to be X, the Fe2 plus ions will be what? 94 minus X. Then we'll do the simple charge balance. From the charge balance we will know what is the count of these atoms. then usually they'll be asking what fraction is this type of ion or what fraction is that type of ion. So we'll be able to find out the fraction by just doing what? Number of Fe3 plus ions by total number of iron atoms, 94 into 100. So this gives us how much value? 12.8%. In terms of fraction means we'll call it as what? 0.128. So these are the kind of questions that we can expect on the metal deficiency defect, and this is broadly what we need to cover in terms of the crystal defects.